You are still watching Prime Morning. It's time for Prime Insight. We know that last week there was actually a trending issue with regards to the NTC licensure exams, where teachers were supposed to write exams to qualify to be teachers, professional teachers in classrooms. However, there were a lot of people that failed. Over 6,000 people failed out of 7,000, and people have complained so much. The complaints are to do with the fact that they feel that there has been some sort of manipulation in there, and that is why the numbers have increased. Others are also saying that it could be the educational system which is not helping a lot of people. Others are saying the marking scheme could also be a reason why the failure has happened. Don't worry at all. Today we are bringing that conversation your way for us to get answers into the reasons why the failure happened, and the number is over 85%. So why this huge number, and what is happening? What can be done about it in future? I have with me Dennis Osepo, who is the head of public affairs with a National Teaching Council. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
How are you, Dennis? Sorry. How are you this morning?
Yeah, I'm doing well.
Great. And now we want to make sure that everybody at home get the answers. And so we want you at home to also join this conversation, sending your messages with regards to the teaching licensure exams, the 85% persons that failed in these exams. We know that you've been a big voice in this, and so want to hear from you today as well. Now, Dennis, the biggest question here that everybody has asked is to do with why we need to write this licensure exams. What's the essence of it?
All right. I want to use the opportunity to say a very good morning to our teachers who are also watching. Just like you said, it's very, very important to rewrite this exam. Some years back, we only had one training institution in Ghana, and that was University of Cape Coast, which was also affiliated to all the teacher training institutions. Then we had Winneba. So Winneba also became autonomous at a point in time. So we had only these two training institutions training teachers. So at least you could see that they were limited to one standard. But as we speak, we have a lot of training institutions in Ghana. And one has to do with, even all our traditional universities in Ghana now also offer education. University of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, we have UDS, Mustard, and then almost all the private universities in Ghana offering.
But these are graduate teachers.
Yeah.
We are talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
So all of them too, their programs have been sanctioned by GTech. And so if GTech has sanctioned their programs, meaning whatever they are doing, it's official and we accept it as well. But you know, whatever we do as a council is backed by law. And so as part of what we do, our main mandate was actually started in 2008. That was Act 778. That gave us a mandate to function as a council. And in 2020, it was repealed by Act 1023. And this act gave us the power to examine prospective teachers before they enter the system, just like any other profession does. So you can have your academic training in whatever area you want to, in whichever institution you want to. But then remember, after all the training, you are coming to one Ghanaian classroom. So you may have your different training models whatsoever that have been sanctioned. But then the one exam, that is the teacher professional exam, serves as a quality assurance on what happens in our various training institutions.
Right. Now, you've spoken a bit, but what you did dwell on were the graduates. What about those from the colleges?
They are all graduates.
They are all graduates.
Yes.
Okay. So are they all degree?
No.
Okay.
No. We even in the university we still have people graduating with diploma.
Okay.
And then it's now that the system has halted the whole process of diploma. Then and so even in the colleges, their first batch of diploma has graduated, and so they are entering the system with their first batch of degree has graduated, so they are entering the system with a degree.
Okay, with a degree.
Yes.
Now, you know, the failure is quite high, 85% of failure rate, and everybody is shocked at this. Now, let's talk about how it's going to impact the teaching profession.
Okay, there's one thing that we need to make it clear. This exam was not for in-service teachers. They were not teachers already in the system, but rather prospective teachers.
Okay.
And one thing that we need to know is this particular exam was limited to only reciters. We didn't have any fresh candidates applying to write.
Right.
So it was people who have sat for a very long time. We piled it from 2018 to 2022, all those who had gone through the system and still have some deficit. They are the people that we brought together to take it, to have a retake and the outcome we had. But there is one thing that we need to all look at as a country. I think what has happened is a good call for all of us to wake up and see our educational system, most especially the educational educators. Because one thing I know for sure, when you're a teacher, you impart knowledge. And so, in other words, you should also be equally knowledgeable, because you can't give what you don't have. And what we've seen as a result of this examination, and then our research shows that most of the candidates who sat for the exam, some of them, about 30% of them, their performance was so low.
Is it true that some couldn't even spell their names?
Yes, but not quite a number. About 3 people we can count.
But even if it's 3, it's quite worrying, because this person went to primary school, went to junior high, went to senior high, went to maybe teacher training college, probably even has a degree, and this person can't spell their name.
So that is where our fear lies. That's where our fear lies, because you can't go through all this system, get to this level where you had even graduated and you want to find a job, and we see this with you, then it tells us that something went wrong somewhere. How did a person go through all this system? And my sister, you know for a fact that while you were in school, we have some people who don't actually study, but then they try to have their way through. And so if such people are able to go through the system, and then the system automatically absorbs them, what is going to happen to Ghana? And there's one thing that we need to look at. If one teacher pollutes 100, you can just look at the side effects. But then if one doctor injects a person and the person dies, 1 person is gone. And so a teacher's impact is not directly felt like
no matter how many lives is lost, it's actually something you don't.
I understand what I'm saying. Like where I'm coming from is people are just looking at the education sector as a dumping site where we could just allow anybody into the system.
Okay.
But then this is a place that we actually need people who are well versed in what they do. So you can't just get up and say, I'm entering a profession where I'm going to do something, and when I get a good job, I leave. We need to get teachers who have the passion for the job, who are ready to study. Because one thing I know is, if you're a teacher,
you ought to study every time.
You need to study, because you can't just go and give what you don't have. And these are the problems we are facing.
Right, we want to get interactive as possible, so for those of you at home, please send in your messages. It's all about the teacher licensure exams, the failure that was recorded, 85% failure, and this is for people who are having a resit. It's not even the first entrance, the resit, and that's where there's a problem. And you're saying that it's a compilation from 2018 all the way to 2022. So send in your messages. We know that when we started talking about this, a few messages that came in, some even spoke about the content. What were they being served that they could barely answer?
All right. It's whenever I hear the content issue, I get a bit sad, because whatever we give them is exactly what they are trained for. And It's not anything beyond their scope.
So you don't answer a question if you haven't been trained in that sector?
We don't even ask any question beyond a teacher standard.
Let me ask you this. If I am a math teacher, do I have to answer science questions?
Actually, we are not asking even science questions. We have 3 areas that we are paying attention. And we are paying attention to those areas because it's a general thing that every teacher needs to go through. As part of our activities in the school as teachers, we compile reports for students. We have cumulative records. We keep statuses of our students. And everything that we do has to do with numeracy. This has to do with counting. And so we ask basic knowledge as far as what is expected of you in your practice as a teacher. And then, our medium of instruction in Ghana, in our Ghanaian classrooms from class 3 to tertiary is English language. And so you can't be a teacher in Ghana that at least you don't have the basics. And sometimes when I was sad to see a colleague sending me a message from a colleague teacher who happens to be a caterer. And then he had a program, so called the colleague teacher to be the one taking care of the food issues. And so wanted an estimate for the program. And my colleague, what the guy sent me, I don't know whether it was a lady or a man, could not for any of the carrots starting with K.
And this person is a teacher?
Yeah, the person is also a prospective teacher we are talking about here. And so if this person finds herself in the system, what happens to the children?
Let me ask you, what is wrong with the education system that is letting us have people who have graduated from teacher training not being able to spell carrots? How did they even make it into the teacher training college in the first place?
You see, our system is really, really doing well. I'm telling you, we are following the best global standards when it comes to education in Ghana. But you see, in every organization or in every setup, you may definitely have issues. But the only problem is because we have been able to come out to let people see what is happening at the other side. That is why issue has become, and this thing came out not necessarily we leaking anything. It went through other hands, and then we find where we are. So, but then the statistics of the failure is what I'm talking about, where somebody has sat since 2018, and the person is still not making it. And you go through the history of the person's write-up, and you get to know that this person is not ready to become a teacher. But our issue, and then our call, that we are saying this is a national security threat, that everybody needs to have interest in this. Let's stop politicizing this process. Let's stop calling names. Let's stop trying to backlash their organizing institution, because we think that there is something wrong somewhere.
You know, teachers in Ghana had always been the best. You know, Nigeria used to source from here, South Africa used to source from here. What has happened? Where did we go wrong?
Yeah,
how
nothing
did we
has
get
happened.
here?
We are even still being sourced out there. Now as we speak, UK is seriously in Ghana picking our teachers. We have 4 countries in Africa who are exempted from going through their QTS. That is the qualified teacher status. Ghana was exempted, Zimbabwe was exempted, South Africa was exempted, and Nigeria. These are the 4 countries who were exempted. And before they took the decision, they had series of meetings with our council, had a Zoom meeting with my boss, the registrar, Dr. Christian Adepoku, and then they even came down to look at how our system works. And they finally took a decision that we are doing something right in Ghana.
Okay.
So we still have the best of products. But you see, just like I said, in every organization, you still have some bad nuts. And this is exactly what we want to avoid.
But 85% is not some. is majority, and that's where the worry is.
Okay,
you have over 7,000 written exams, a reset. You have over 6,000 fail, 85% is a worry. So if we have a country like UK sourcing from Ghana, and we are supposed to be one of the best, how then do we have 85% failure? Now, I'm asking this because there are people out there who are saying that it looks like the government is trying to fail people on purpose so that they can reduce the number of teachers in the system.
That is a hoax. It's really they don't have any basis for that statement. The truth of the matter is we have instances where we wrote exam, we presented 21,000 teachers, and as a result of that we had 19,000 of them passing. So at that moment too, we were trying to pass people for them to become teachers or what, for political gains. You see, the truth is we are here to sanitize the system. It is not like a dumping site where we would just allow anybody enter. This is a profession, and if we really uphold the profession, then we need to get the best for the profession.
Right.
We are looking at quality, not quantity. Not because people want jobs, so we should allow people go there. And as we speak, my sister, we even have deficit of about 30,000 teachers in the system that has not even been recruited. And so if you are talking about getting more teachers, we don't have any problem. And these people have gone through the licensing process.
And they've passed.
They've passed. And I'll just give you an instance. In 2019, prior to 2020, we presented 21,000. And 19,200 of them passed. So that one too, we passed them on purpose. And there's one thing that we should also take into consideration. The people we are talking about here who sat this particular exam are people who have failed and want to redeem themselves. So it tells you that they are people that we need to investigate in even how
they even got
where we are. And so if we are being a gateway and being trying to halt a process and make sure we get the right people for the job, we shouldn't even be the problem here. Ghanaians should rather applaud what we do, because what we are talking about here is a serious issue.
Yeah.
It's like we are just trying to get name for ourselves by calling things, and then people are trying to also bastardize what we do as a council. But it's wrong. It's wrong. We are making a point, and we want Ghanaians to understand the fact that we had some people who had gone through training but could not construct a simple sentence. We had some people who were not able to even give time interval between a point and a point. And even with multiple choice answers, you could just count and still get answer in there. We have people who were not able to give answers to it. We have people who has virtually no knowledge about the work they are going to do. But they said they've gone through training.
All right. So a message has come in. It says, please, it's tertiary education, not only training college people, should stop tagging training colleges. Of course, it's for everybody. He did mention it earlier. She further says, it's not true. I just graduated with degree. We are the next batch to write the licensure exams. We are to write numeracy, literacy as general papers. So which one is it? They don't set questions out of what we learned.
Oh, so they didn't study mathematics. My sister, who never studied mathematics in a senior high school? Who never studied mathematics in a senior high school? And that is why we're saying we need to pay attention to something. It looks as if where we are coming from as a council, Ghanaians are not trying to buy in. What we are saying is we have been mandated to be the gateway to education. So for you to enter the system and you think you've had any form of training and you are doing your best, it is simple.
But somebody might be very good in, literacy, but a person might not be good in, numbers, what we talk about, math.
Good.
And so when it happens like that and you are testing such a person who is probably a social studies teacher or somebody who is an RME teacher, and you're testing the person on mathematics, the person could fail. What about that?
Okay, I don't know whether you've attended any interview or you've had the opportunity to have any tests to enter a job market or something where they ask of general people, you see a bit of maths in there, you see a bit of
the aptitude test,
where you even go beyond your boundaries.
Yeah,
we are okay with that. But you going to impart and even practice those things, what we are saying is you can't be a teacher in Ghana where you will not use numbers to do anything as part of your process.
Okay.
And so we are judging you we are examining you based on what is expected of you as a teacher. So you can't just get up and tell me you studied. I studied French in the training college. I read maths. Nobody can tell me that he went to Mount Mary, studied French, and did not do any basic. I did maths methodology as a teacher. Okay,
maybe somebody out there wants to, get to know why the marking scheme is going to be increased from 50% to a 70%.
You see, it has always been like that. It has always been like that. You see, we think that if we are pegging a professional exam at 50% and then somebody gets exactly 50%, then what happened to the 50 that the person failed? So for us to see that you are really serious about what we are doing and you are prepared, at least your failures should be lower than your passes. So you want a 70% in pass? Yes, so that we know that you've gone beyond your normal knowledge. So if you have 50% knowledge in something, what happens to the other 50 you failed?
Okay, now run us through the general paper. That's the numeracy, literacy, professional essential skills. What is it exactly?
Okay, the numeracy has to do with the basic arithmetic, as I mentioned. Okay. Then essential professional skills has to do with the national teacher standards. What is expected in the domain of the standards, that is professional values and attitudes, your professional knowledge. These are the things that you need to know as.
So when you say professional knowledge, what? How to relate to the children, yes, and stuff like that? Okay.
No, you should have basic knowledge about the profession you find yourself.
Okay. In. Okay.
And then you need to upgrade on what you do. You don't sit at add value to yourself and then know what goes into the work as well. So these are basically things you need to know as a teacher.
And then the related pedagogy.
The related pedagogy has to do with where you find yourself as a teacher. Before a teacher comes out, at least you should know your methodology. So pedagogy simply means your methodology. But then related, because we have people doing early grade education, primary education in junior high school, senior high school, TVET. And so within your scope, you'll be examined based on what you do as a teacher at that level. And so your methods of teaching, how do you teach? How do you handle a topic? All these things are taught in the school. Yes, in our various universities, this is taught. And then you teach, the teaching subject based, you be examined on. Yes, so just like you said, somebody read social studies. You said you have social studies major students. We examine you based on your area of specialization. Just like I said, I read French. So I'll be examined based on what I learned in French. Yes. Now let's also talk about the fact that they failed. What are some of the measures you have put in place to address this failure? Okay, we think that it's about time we halt the process, and so we are even thinking of bringing a cutoff point. Right. Yes, that's, you can't write beyond a certain number. If you go beyond that, meaning you have to go back, take some courses, and come and face it again, like in the other professions. Because somebody has taken this exam for 9 times, and still the person failed. Last Friday, the person came to my office, and Ghana human face issue, somebody who knows me directed him to come and see me, that maybe there can be something done. And when he came, I was just looking up, and I tried engaging him, and in fact, he's somebody who is not ready for the work.
Really?
Oh, yes. Because when you communicate with somebody...
If he's not ready, he won't write nine times.
Yes, on paper. And then because I want to find job for myself, I'll sacrifice and do it. But in the course of converse, like in a normal convo with somebody, you could identify the person's level of intelligence. Sometimes, with certain things you ask. That is why I was telling you that most of our people got here and we still don't understand why we go here. That's why we are calling for the whole nation to help us look into how they got here.
Right. Now you're talking about a halt on the program. What do you mean by a halt?
What I mean is, initially we didn't have a cutoff point where you can write or you pass. But we think that we've gotten to a point, and everybody is even calling for that you write, let's say, 3 times, and you're not able to make it.
That's the halt that you're putting in there.
Then you leave, go take some courses again, and then if you think you are ready, you come and write, just like the other professions are doing.
Dennis, you did mention earlier that you have a backlog of about 30,000 teachers in the system who are, even awaiting to be posted to some schools to teach. And we still have, the UK coming here to source. We have Nigeria, South Africa, and all of that. Now, a lot of people think that the number of backlog that you have is one of the reasons why you are failing people intentionally, so you don't have too much backlog. So you reduce the numbers, you are increasing, the marking scheme to a 70%, you are changing so much, so you reduce the number of intake.
Okay, just like I said earlier, we are not here to have quantity, but we are here to have quality.
Okay, so it's not about the backlog.
No, and then again, with even the issue of backlog, who passed them if we really want to? And we have even said countlessly that if you think you failed and you're not comfortable and you think you did well, our doors are open for remarking. You can even take us to court and think that you've been cheated. We are ready to face you.
Okay.
Your scripts are there to show if really you were failed on purpose or you did well and we decided to fail you. It's just open. So whoever thinks that has passed and has been cheated, our doors are open. And for a very long time, we've not had anybody coming out to say that I'm challenging the system. I want to see somebody like that.
Okay, a message has come in. My suggestion is that you don't use spelling programs as your argument. So many people go through examination fevers when they take exams. The best way to improve people is by giving them series of workshops on a regular basis. One exams on one sitting is not enough to get a license. They will easily fail. If you don't agree with me, ask the seasoned teachers.
All right, my sister, you just tell me the truth. Which other profession in Ghana organizes workshop for their staff and then give them license before they enter the profession? You just give me one that nurses do, lawyers do. I don't think there's anything like that. But what we have introduced is very simple. After you had received your license and you're in the system, that is when we give you the best practices. And we call it continuous professional development whilst you're on the job. And you even have to accrue points to renew the license you have. Because the exam is just one-time examination. The license exam is one time. When you pass, you don't meet it again. But what you do to renew your license is the continuous professional development that you find yourself on the job. And so it's not like our system doesn't support continuous professional development. We do.
Okay. Message coming in on Facebook. Ajua Pain Them says, please, I don't understand why the need to increase the mark to 70%, considering the fact that B grade can't be a cut-off point. Even at their time in the education system, most of them would have failed if this was implemented. She further says that at least a 60% could be better. They are just interested in people resitting and all that. Besides, people have passed and haven't been posted.
With the issue of the pass mark, it is even just something that is on the table.
Okay.
And I don't know how people automatically concluded. It is a proposal. we are still discussing this.
I mean, it's a proposal, but you know,
my boss lightly spoke about it on Talking Points last Sunday. That is where most people are picking it from. But just like I said, whatever happens, we move from somewhere and then we get there. And so it's something that we are discussing. I mean,
the question here is, why even discuss this when you have a whole 85% failure?
That is, you see, that this 85%, I want us to...
And we know that it's a reset.
It's a reset.
We know.
So people who we think some have problems and then some ingenuity, even in getting to where they are, we think so. And that is why we are going through a lot of research. Our team is on the ground trying to find out the problem.
Okay. I have never supported any policy by this government, but for this one, I really support it 100%. I am a teacher myself, and sometimes when I examine the intelligence level of some colleagues, I really feel sad for the students under their care. I'm speaking of SHS. When you check the justifications that the NTC gave for the failure, it makes sense. Let's sanitize the teaching profession. All right. Thank you so much for sending your message. It looks like there is a bit of support for you as well.
We have a lot of support, not a bit.
All right, so when you send your messages, kindly add your name, and definitely we want to hear, want to know who's sending the message, okay, and where you're sending it from as well. But do you have any plans in there for these teachers who are failing? How do we get the teaching system better for those writing the exams to become professional teachers?
Just like I said, even with what you projected are the reforms, the new exam we are introducing. So initially we're rather looking at the general paper, essential professional skills, literacy, numeracy. Those were the areas we're looking at. But as we speak, we've moved to a new system to make sure that where you had your best subject whatsoever, you'll be examined on as well. And because of that, we only have one chance for those who are still reciting to take the traditional GTLE, which is the numeracy, literacy, essential professional skills. And then the new system that we have introduced is for only those who have graduated and are home.
Right.
Yeah, the degree holders. And so if you're not able to make the traditional GTLE, then you have to join the new one. And the new one, you can only join when you have a degree. So if you're a diplomate and you have not made the old system, and you still want to be a teacher, then you have to upgrade to a degree.
Okay.
Before you can write. And upgrading to a degree to also give you room to study more. Okay. And so it is something that we have made it open to help them go through. But with me, I still think that there are some of them that we need to investigate. Because some of them, if you give them a lot of opportunity, and they are not given quality education again, they can't make it. Yes, because with what they are producing, if it is going to be the same people without any touch of training again, it's going to be hard. Yes.
So let's talk about what the future holds for this, and we can go finally.
Yeah, I think the whole country should buy into this and then make sure we sanitize the teaching profession. We can say boldly that Ghana is having the best of practice when it comes to global standard. Ghana is not left behind. We are doing our best as a council, but we can only function effectively when we have the backing of Ghanaians. And we are not doing this for ourselves. Tomorrow I might not be there. Tomorrow I may find myself somewhere, or even out of the country, or even out of the earth. But our future generation still holds. And whoever makes our generation is the teacher, whether you like it or not. So we have a slogan, my teacher, then you say my future. And so if you have a bad future, what happened to Ghana? So please, let's not do this with sentiment. We are doing this because we want to bring some dignity that the profession holds. We want to maintain it and even take it to the next level, so the place don't become a dumping site where somebody thinks that I'm not getting job. So that's the best place for me to get a job. So whether I'm best trained or not, let me go there. So Ghanaians should help us take the rot from the system and then make our education sector better.
Dennis, thank you so much for being here today. We are super grateful.